Well, hey everybody. It's Philosopher Stoner 666 again. I just figured I'd make another short video today. Hopefully short. There's not much to do where I am. Right now I'm in Trois-Rivières, Quebec. And like I was mentioning before in the other video, it's like a French immersion program, and I decided to stay the extra week because I'm sort of trying to, well, kill time. Although I like to say spend time, but yeah, killing time before I get my visa, and I keep getting fucked around with bureaucrats and dealing with paperwork, and you send somebody a form with a stamp or whatever, and then they want another form with a different stamp, and you got to fill out this form and fill out that form, and it just adds more frustration to everything. And don't mistake this as bitching or complaining. But just like, the more and more I start to think about it, there was this quote by Thomas Ligotti that I read a while back, that everything in this life is more trouble than it's worth. And it just, I just laughed to myself because it's just so fucking true. The more and more, I've reread it and reread it and reread it. I'm like, I cannot, there's nothing that I can do to refute this. But anyways, that's just like, the bullshit of life. The bullshit of life. So, the secret to life really is low expectations. And as I was mentioning before, I have a certain lack of sentimentality. There's no more tearful goodbyes or anything like that. And it just sort of, I feel myself becoming more and more cold. And I don't know what it is. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Anyways, that's all that's like side diversion stuff. That's not really what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was bilingualism. Right now, because like I said, I'm in Trois-Rivières, Quebec, I'm like intermediate level with French. And I actually have family that they were from here. So my grandmother was actually born in this town, Trois-Rivières. Trois-Rivières. Je m'excuse. But yeah, and I got relatives that live in the cemetery, they're buried in the cemetery. What am I saying? They're buried in the cemetery here. And just in Canada, we have this thing. I don't know, like who watches my videos or whatever, but it's bilingualism, English and French. So we got this parts of Canada, Quebec, New Brunswick. Certain little pockets in the northwest that speak French because of this, colonial heritage. And, they go on and on about culture and this and that. And here I am in Trois-Rivières, they have A&W, they have McDonald's, they have everything, and you order something in French, and then right away they know, because the way you roll your R's, the way English people roll their R's, they just start speaking to you in English. So that really, we're becoming more and more sort of this monoculture of the only really thing that's separating us now is language. So, I kind of find it pretentious and stupid, the whole bilingual thing. I mean, I get it because it's a value to learn because it gets you to think differently. And that's sort of the real value, is the thinking differently. Like, I don't think I would have obtained the perspective I've obtained on life if it hadn't been for this type of culture that I live in that has so many influences. And we're all told, because we're living in a monoculture, to all think the same, and we don't think the same. That a lot of it has to do with geography. So there wouldn't be guys like Peter Weissel-Zapf or Thomas Ligotti if it wasn't for the differences in culture. So people like guys like Peter Weissel-Zapf, you can Google him, wouldn't have had his kind of philosophy. He wouldn't have come up with it if he hadn't lived in a cold, dark place. Norway. It's no coincidence that Hamlet's from the same place. Denmark, northern Scandinavia. It's not a coincidence that a lot of like pop music, modern top 40 dance music is from Latin America, because it's hot, sun shining, there's hot babes on the beach. Though they don't have, at least they don't have very many reasons to be to be depressed or upset or whatever. And even the way they look at things like death, because death is a universal thing, are different from the way people in northern climates view it. So, having the bilingual perspective is sort of useful. And it sort of also goes back to, the French. The French people are a conquered people. They have a sort of resentment of being the conquered people. And they also have an elitism because back in the day, they used to be, oops, shit. Need my ashtray. Anyway, but yeah, they used to be, the top dog. They used to be on top of the world. They had, like Napoleon and such, who was like running the show, and they almost conquered the world twice. So, now what do they got? They're conquered. All they have really is a language. And you even see this when you go to places like Quebec City, which is like the north of Quebec, the capital of Quebec, Montreal. They cling to an old culture, and really there's nothing there. The only thing different about it is the climate. It's different from the rest of Canada, and the language. So these are the two sort of obstacles that we are going to need to overcome if we're to get philosophy off the ground. To realize that really the only barriers that exist now are in language and in climate and how we think. So despite what they'll say about globalization and how we should all be thinking global and stuff, it's not the truth. The truth is we are our geography in a way, and our language. And I mean, to me, it's also not a coincidence that a lot of other sorts of guys like Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, Emile Cioran, and a lot of these other guys that I've read, who are very obscure thinkers in of themselves, but it's no coincidence that they wrote what they wrote, their works in France, after the Second World War, because they were a defeated culture. They were a defeated culture that used to be the top dog. And so I think that's the reason for the pessimism is they had won. They were the winners, and then they lost. Other people, say in poorer countries, unless they want to be abjectly depressed, they have no choice but to be optimistic, to think that things will get better. If they live in total poverty and they know they live in shit, well, of course, they're going to try and be optimistic because it's survival mechanism, right? So really, and the combination of all these factors, the climate, the geography, the language. And I guess, Canada isn't as fucked up a country because of the whole bilingualism thing, because of those values of the shared perspectives. But I find nowadays it's just becoming pretentious. It's just becoming a silly, antiquated thing. It's like French is like the Cantonese of China in a way. It's like the old language. And ultimately at the end of the day, simplicity is what wins. That's why English is still running the world, because it's a lingua franca. It's simple. You don't have the shit, lancer le ballon. No, it's like shoot. Shoot, he scores, win. It's easy. Like even the francophones, their whole language here in Quebec is changing with English in mind. So they don't say, fin de semaine. They say, oh yeah, weekend. A lot of English loan words and stuff. Because at the end of the day, English it's simpler, it's easier. And so we're becoming slowly a more monoculture and monolingual. And for there to be any sort of solutions, it's sort of just realizing that that's where where we're heading. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's not. I see it sort of becoming a corporate monoculture. So it's everybody's listening to Top 40 and Virgin Radio, and everybody goes to Walmart and McDonald's and that sort of shit. Which of course it's wasteful, inefficient, spending a lot of money, that sort of thing. On a lot of stuff that people don't need and such. But anyway, yeah. So we are our climate, we are our geography. And yeah, I'm just enjoying another prime time here. I gotta think of something else I can do today. At the end of the week, I'll be gone. I'll be heading off to Miramichi, New Brunswick, Nouveau-Brunswick, just to stay with some relatives while I kill time waiting for my visa, dealing with all these bureaucratic, limber dick cocksuckers and all these other assholes that, they it's almost like they feed on making people fucking depressed and making people fucking, frantic and desperate, that we're so dependent on the system where, of forms, and it's like we're afraid of ourselves or something. So yeah, that's the other obstacle beyond language, geography, is the bureaucracy, the tendency in people to conform and to become groups, to become little tribes and cliques, and a tendency that we have to lean towards social domination. And I might have mentioned it in my other video before, but I've talked about social domination. I'm becoming more aware of things that people do that are like slights. There's this one guy talking, and he asked the guy something about what he was going to do, and he asked the guy, like, very audible, very direct, "Oh yeah, I know, what are you doing tomorrow?" And the guy didn't respond. And that's sort of like a silent fuck you. It's like, you can't be accused that, you did a bad thing, you told me to fuck off, he just doesn't respond. It could have been, "Oh yeah, he's got a lot of wax in his ears," or something. That could be his bullshit excuse. But really it's because he wants to say in a silent way, "Fuck off, I don't want to talk to you," or whatever. That sort of thing. I might have mentioned before, like knowing karate. And then those guys that know karate, they can sort of push their way around. And it's sort of like, I observe in everything, especially with guys, everything is like a social domination test. It's a stupid game. We're operating fundamentally on a far more primitive level than we give ourselves. We're like, oh yeah, human beings are these rational animals. And no, we're operating on a tribal level. It's like even things of how strong a guy's handshake is, how long you can maintain eye contact for with somebody, what you say, how you say it, how you walk. If you're always the last person coming down the stairs or going up the stairs when you're with the same group of people for a certain amount of time, even little stupid fucking shit like that makes a difference. If you're always the last person or always at the behind and not in the front of the line, well then that means you're like the bitch. You're like the bitch of the group. You're the person they're going to start taking advantage of you. It's like this feeling you can never be nice with people because then they take advantage of your niceness. It's like at a cafeteria, right? And I'm cleaning up and the guy puts his own plate on my tray. You have to at a certain point, it's just one little plate, right? It's not a big deal to just take it over to the place where they clean it up. But it's like if you don't be like, no, sorry, I'm not taking your plate, well then they're going to be cutting you in line and you're going to find yourself at the bottom of the heap. And then that's how we operate. And it's sort of something I find that's universal regardless of geography and climate, is that tendency of our groups we create tribes. We're tribal. I think that's ultimately the message I'm trying to get across, is that we're trying to go towards this monoculture and this thing called civilization, but fundamentally our brains can't handle it, that we're operating at a tribal level. We form cliques, social hierarchies, social dominance, and I think that's that's sort of one of the issues that we don't want to deal with. So it's climate, geography, and social domination, the tribal tendencies. Anyways, I keep doing it with my ashes here. I remember reading somewhere in this optimistic self-help book about a lawyer that would have a cigar at his trials. He would put a wire through his cigar to let there be 2 inches of ash, and just let his ash get really, really long. And he claimed that he was able to win cases just based on stupid shit like that, because people can't handle the tension of an incomplete action. People don't like there to be ash on the cigarette. It's like something that's incomplete. There's a tension with it. So he would have really long ash just to get people all tense, all nervous, And then people would be so caught up in watching the ash on his cigarette that they would be almost, not totally, but more persuaded by what he had to say, because they were looking for him to just stop it already. They couldn't handle the tension. So it's like I've gotten into this habit of where I just let my ash get really, really long, and then, oops, fell on my lap there. So, look like an idiot. Don't really care, I'm sort of getting in the point where I have one of these a day. One of these a day, it's nice and good. Anyways, now I'm rambling. I guess I'm probably going to edit this out. But anyway, Philosopher Stoner 666 out.